All right, now it's time to incorporate some more intentional awareness of rhythm into our practice. Now that you've done all the keys at some level and you've been practicing the seventh chords and 1-4-1-5-1s, we're going to take all those same pieces of vocabulary and practice them in two different time signatures or two different rhythmic contexts. And then we're going to practice them in ways that kind of overlay those two rhythmic contexts over one another. Okay? So when we listen to music, oftentimes we'll notice that the music has kind of in our bodies, the way our body wants to move with it, has kind of a symmetric back and forth quality. Most of the music that you've probably heard in your life has this quality to it where it's like... So it's kind of going back and forth, right? And if you were to assign a number to this, my guess, based on most of the students I've had, is that your instinct would be to say, oh, this is in 2, which is correct. This is a 2 feel. But when musicians talk about things that feel this way, we usually say this is in 4. And the reason for that just has to do with the history of the way that these things are represented on paper. So when you feel that something has that kind of 2 feel to it, you can test it by, if it's going 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If you count twice as fast and count to 4, you can test and see if that lines up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? There are times when you start counting faster, it won't seem to line up, and we'll talk about that later. So 2 or 4. This is most of the music that you've probably heard in your life if you've mostly been listening to Western music. The other major time feel that we run across in a lot of Western music is 3. So 3 feels feel like this. And the way that you can start incorporating this into your practicing is to use the 7th chord exercise where you're playing 7th chords and improvising, or to use the 1-4-1-5-1 exercise where you're playing those chords and improvising, and just play in 4 or in 3. So I'm in the key of G here because I just made a sharp side video. So I'm going to do the 1-4-1-5 thing in 4 and then in 3. So here it is in 4. And then I'll do the same thing with a 3 feel, okay? Gyatso wants all the attention. So those are 2 ways of practicing 4 and 3 rhythmic fills. And then the next thing to do with these is to overlay them over each other, to start hearing that within the same space of time, we can have a time field that contains both 2s and 3s. So there's all sorts of different rhythms that express this, but the most common one is where we're playing 2 and 3 in the same amount of time. And that rhythm sounds like this. I'm going to play it in octaves so you can hear really clearly. My right hand's going to do 3 and my left hand's going to do 2. And then if I switch them, so this one's doing 3 and this one's doing 2. Okay. So practice that feeling with just single notes. And then when you're ready to, you can start practicing it by playing, again, either the 7th chords or a 1-5-1, 1-4-1-5-1 thing. So. And then you can take these things that you've been practicing and start really intentionally noticing when you hear them in music. So when you're listening to any song, whatever you're listening to, just ask yourself, what time signature is this in? Does this feel like a 2 or a 4? Or does this feel like a 3 feel? And of course, any music we listen to, we could sort of force one of those patterns onto it. But what we're looking for is the pattern that makes the most sense to our ear. So if you're hearing something that's going like, and you were to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't, you can tell that it doesn't really describe it very well. So even though you could describe it that way, what we're looking for is the explanation that makes the most simple sense to our ear, to what we're hearing. Okay? So practice listening to music and naming which of those feels make the most sense to what you're hearing, and then practice doing them with your own body at the piano.